Welcome to African Icons. Today we'll be discussing Thomas Sankara, the revolutionary. Thomas Sankara was born on 21st December 1949 in Yako, in the then Upper Volta, now known as Burkina Faso. Sankara commenced his primary education in Gaoua, a town in southwestern Burkina Faso. His family later moved, and he continued his primary studies in Dano and Bobo Dioulasso. For his secondary education, he attended Lycée Wazine Coulibaly in Bobo Dioulasso, one of the country's leading secondary schools. It was during this period that his intellectual curiosity and interest in history, politics, and leadership began to grow. On the 5th of August 1960, the then Upper Volta attained independence from France, and Maurice Yamogo became its first president. He had been a trade unionist and politician in the Voltaic Democratic Union, or UDV-RDA. Independence did not immediately bring stability. Yamogo soon banned opposition parties, creating a one-party state. Economic struggles and authoritarian rule led to popular discontent, culminating in his overthrow in 1966, just 6 years after independence. Back to Sankara. In 1966, at about 17 years old, Sankara enrolled at the Kadiego Military Academy in Ouagadougou, where he received officer training. Later, he was sent for advanced military training abroad. He then went to Madagascar from 1970 to 1973, where he studied at the Antirabe Military Academy, where he was exposed to revolutionary and Marxist ideas during a period of student uprisings. He also went to France in the early 1970s, where he briefly attended further military courses. After completing his training in Madagascar from 1970 to 1973, where he was exposed to Marxist and revolutionary ideas, Sankara returned to Upper Volta. He joined the army as a young officer and quickly earned a reputation for being disciplined, intelligent, and incorruptible. Sankara also became known for his simple lifestyle, preferring modest living over the privileges many officers enjoyed. He was posted in Ouagadougou and later in other garrisons, including the town of Po, where he commanded a military training center. At Po, he built strong relationships with young soldiers, inspiring them with his ideals of patriotism, anti-corruption, and service to the people. Unlike many officers who kept a distance from ordinary citizens, Sankara often mingled with civilians and openly spoke against injustice. Having witnessed poverty in Madagascar and read widely on politics, economics, and revolutionary theory, he became convinced that African countries needed radical change to escape neo-colonial control. He often played the guitar and gathered friends, fellow soldiers, and intellectuals to discuss politics and culture, showing his blend of artistry and activism. The years when Thomas Sankara was a young officer were some of the most politically unstable in Upper Volta. He lived through and was shaped by a chain of military coups. Here's a breakdown. The Yamogo Fall, 1966. After independence in 1960, Maurice Yamogo ruled as the first president. His government became authoritarian and imposed harsh austerity measures, cutting wages and restricting unions. On 3rd January 1966, mass protests and a general strike led to his overthrow by the army led by Lieutenant Colonel Songule Lamizana. At this time, Sankara was still in secondary school, but the coup was his first exposure to the army's central role in politics. Lamizana's long but shaky rule, 1966 to 1980. Lamizana ruled for 14 years, but his presidency was marked by economic troubles and political tension. He tried to balance military power with civilian politics, allowing a return to multi-party democracy in the late 1970s. However, constant strikes and financial crisis weakened his government. During this period, Sankara was rising as an officer, stationed in different parts of the country and watching the corruption of politicians and officers closely. The Zabo coup, 1980. On 25th November 1980, Colonel Zabo led a coup overthrowing Lamizana. Zabo suspended the constitution, banned political parties, and set up a military committee. Sankara, already known as a brilliant officer, was brought into government circles during this time. He was named Secretary of State for Information in 1981. But Sankara quickly clashed with the regime, calling out corruption and lack of democracy. In April 1982, he resigned on live radio, saying, "Misfortune to those who gag the people." The Ouedraogo coup, 1982. On 7th November 1982, another group of officers ousted Zabo, installing Major Jean-Baptiste Ouedraogo as head of state. Ouedraogo's regime, the Council for Salvation of People, CSP, promised reforms but was also fragile. In January 1983, Sankara was appointed Prime Minister under Ouedraogo. His radical, anti-imperialist speeches gained him wide popularity at home and attention abroad, especially in France and Libya, which alarmed conservatives in his own government. Sankara's arrest and the 1983 coup. In May 1983, under French pressure, Ouedraogo dismissed and arrested Sankara. Protests erupted across the country, led by students, trade unions, and Sankara's allies. On 4th August 1983, his friend and comrade Captain Blaise Compaoré led a coup that freed him and installed him as president. This marked the beginning of Sankara's revolutionary government of the National Council of the Revolution, CNR. On 4th August 1983, Captain Thomas Sankara, at only 33 years old, became president after a coup led by his ally Blaise Compaoré. He declared the start of a democratic and popular revolution. In 1984, he renamed Upper Volta to Burkina Faso, meaning land of the upright people, to break from colonial legacies. Sankara was a Marxist-Leninist and Pan-Africanist, inspired by leaders like Marx, Che Guevara, and Fidel Castro and Kwame Nkrumah. His goal: to build a self-reliant, egalitarian, anti-imperialist society, freeing from France's neo-colonial control and dependence on foreign aid. He famously said, "He who feeds you controls you." Sankara launched a series of key reforms, which included anti-corruption and modesty, as he decreased the salaries of himself and other prominent officials in his government. He also sold off government assets which he deemed to be extravagant, such as fleets of Mercedes cars, and replaced them with more modest vehicles. He banned the use of chauffeurs and first-class travel by government officials. He also lived modestly and often rode a bicycle or motorbike around Ouagadougou. He also made significant social and economic reforms, which included land reforms, as he redistributed land from feudal chiefs to peasants and farmers. Farmers were encouraged to produce for domestic consumption, and Burkina Faso went from importing most of its food to near self-sufficiency in cereals within 4 years. He also mobilized the population to build roads, railways, schools, and clinics without foreign aid. The third major reform Sankara undertook was health and education, where he launched a massive vaccination campaign against measles, meningitis, and yellow fever, vaccinating over 2.5 million children in weeks. In education reforms, school attendance rose sharply due to free education campaigns and the building of thousands of schools. Sankara is also remembered as one of Africa's most progressive leaders on gender equality. He banned forced marriages and female genital mutilation, appointed women to top government positions, encouraged women to work and serve in the military. He declared that the revolution and women's liberation go together. You cannot talk of liberation while women are oppressed. Sankara launched a massive tree planting campaign to fight desertification in the Sahel, planting over 10 million trees. During Sankara's reign, he was fiercely anti-imperialist. He criticized France, the IMF, and the World Bank, and aligned with other radical states like Cuba, Libya, and Ghana under Jerry Rawlings. He also advocated for Pan-African unity, urging African nations to form a united front against debt repayment, stating that debt is cleverly managed to reconquest of Africa. Sankara's radical reforms infuriated traditional chiefs, wealthy elites, France, and even some allies in the military, and they created resistance among the middle class and conservative groups. Sankara became increasingly alienated with his allies, which culminated in his assassination on 15 October 1987 in a coup led by his close ally Blaise Compaoré, with alleged backing from France and Côte d'Ivoire. Compaoré reversed many of Sankara's policies and aligned Burkina Faso more closely with the West. Sankara was buried hastily in an unmarked grave, but his legacy grew after his death. Today, Sankara is remembered as Africa's Che Guevara, a symbol of integrity, self-reliance, and revolutionary change. His speeches and reforms continue to inspire movements for justice, especially in Africa. In 2015, after Compaoré was ousted, Sankara's remains were exhumed and reburied with national honors. In September 2022, Captain Ibrahim Traoré came to power via a military coup in Burkina Faso. His administration have since undertaken similar reforms to Sankara's administration, which has earned him comparisons to Sankara, and as of today, he seems to be emulating Sankara's revolution and breaking neo-colonial ties with France. The pressing question is whether he can achieve more than Sankara and bring peace and prosperity to Burkina Faso. Only time will tell. Thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe if you want more videos like this. This was African Icons.